And Anthony Salvanto, good enough to stick around, join us here. Anthony, criticism to a degree continues regarding polling as it regarded the 2016 election, and specifically something that we talked about a lot. Trump voters, were they out there? Were they hiding? Were they missed? To all of that, you say what?
We didn't miss them. But he was down in the polls. He was actually trailing. But then his campaign did a remarkable job of coming back, turning out their voters, and persuading the undecided voters to come to his side. So when I say that watch change in polls and figure, look, there's a person at the other end of that, and people do change their minds, well, that's what makes polls move.
Was it a sense, too, that that change happened in the last, really, few days prior to the election?
It did. And in fact, when you go back and you look at the voting records that are now becoming available for people in these states, and you look at miraculously voters who had never shown up before appear, it was not overwhelming numbers. So again, it's that shift in undecideds. People shouldn't take polls as predictions. Polls are what people think today. And, in a democracy, people argue, they go back and forth, and people change.
Well, I would also point out they weren't polls trying to predict the Electoral College. It was polls, and Hillary Clinton did win that popular vote. Heated debate, meanwhile, does continue over the executive order signed by Donald Trump regarding reducing the flow of immigrants into this country. CBSN, in fact, spoke to one voter in Erie, PA, and she had this to say.
I liked the fact that while he was campaigning, he talked about immigration, and that part of that would be checking the borders, and part of that would be checking people when they come in. I think it was originally called a Muslim ban, and that was not a good thing. So now it's called a travel ban, and it's not Muslim-oriented. It's more the people who have come from countries that are terrorists, that have hurt the United States. So by singling out those 7 countries, I'm more comfortable with that than just attacking someone because of their race or because of their religion. Knowing that, I support the travel ban.
I want to point out this woman, a lifelong Democrat, voted for Barack Obama twice. There are certainly statistics and history that could refute the claims she just made. But with regard to how people are feeling and thus what is being reflected in polling, is that something that you are hearing a lot of?
Oh, yeah. For Donald Trump voters, for Republicans, for his base, this is exactly what they wanted, and it's exactly what they expected him to do. And that's one of the reasons that you see these splits in the polls for everything from approval to this ban, etc. Look at the context. Republicans really like it. He's delivering in their eyes.
We're seeing these numbers here.
And that's exactly right. But look at that. Look at that, 8-1, 8-1 split, 85-12, 85-11. That is as dramatic, Josh, as we have seen in anything in any time in recent memory, this partisan split. And that is what is driving the numbers overall. And it's actually what keeps things around that 50-50 mark.
Now, what then are we to infer when we look at the president's approval rating standing currently at 40%? This is the lowest that we have seen since Gallup began doing polling regarding that number in 1953.
Yeah. Again, context here. You've got really strong support from Republicans in that and overwhelmingly negative from Democrats. Typically, what happens at the start of a presidential term is that folks from the other party go along with the honeymoon, and they'll give it a few months and give the other guy a shot and say, okay, we approve for now. That's not happening with Donald Trump. Now, the pundits might read that as, well, he's not reaching out, and pollsters might read that as, well, Democrats aren't at least giving him a chance. But in either case, what you see here is as divided a country at the start of an administration as we've seen.
And interesting, and when you see lawmakers and you think to yourself, well, Capitol Hill has never seemed so divided along partisan lines. It is, in fact, just simply a reflection of the electorate, if nothing else. Fascinating stuff, Anthony. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And I want to say on behalf of all of us here, very happy that you got to meet your personal hero, Tom Selleck, today.
So that was awesome.
Great.
That was all. I'm
100% of the Salvantos think that's an awesome thing.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks, man.